What if someone told you that everything you believed about Tyler Perry's image might have been a carefully constructed illusion? That behind his powerful empire, inspiring speeches, and faith-based messages, there was a darker truth? Because recently, something happened that left the entire industry whispering, and fans completely shocked. A leaked recording surfaced, and it wasn't just any random clip, it was secretly captured audio from someone who knew Tyler better than most. David Mann, the gospel legend, longtime collaborator, and one of Perry's most trusted friends, was the one who had the tape. And you won't believe what was on it. For years, people had admired Tyler Perry for breaking barriers. He came from nothing, built his own film studio, told stories of struggle and strength, and made millions feel seen. But in the background, whispers of control, manipulation, and toxic work environments had quietly followed him. Many ignored it. Others were too afraid to speak. But then came Dar, a former assistant who had worked with Tyler during the early days of the Madea era. Dar had once spoken out about his experience, but back then, no one listened. People said he was bitter or maybe jealous. They thought he just wanted attention. But here's the shocking part. This new recording might prove that every word Dar said was true. David Mann wasn't just some co-worker. He and his wife, Tamala, had been by Tyler's side for decades. They were family, on screen and off. From gospel tours to hit movies, David was part of the Perry circle, trusted, respected, and loyal. So when it came out that he was the one who released the audio, people were stunned. Why would someone like him risk it all? Let me tell you, it wasn't an easy decision. Sources close to David said he kept the recording hidden for months. He was torn. He felt spiritually conflicted. He knew what he heard on that tape, but was afraid of what would happen if it ever got out. The story took an even deeper turn when it was revealed how the recording even happened. It wasn't planned. David had been working on a podcast project and had his equipment running during a private gathering with Tyler's inner circle. What he accidentally captured wasn't just a casual conversation. It was something he couldn't unhear. Tyler Perry, off camera, unfiltered, and completely different from the man people knew in public. According to insiders who heard the audio, Tyler was venting, but not in a normal way. It was cruel, sarcastic, and full of arrogance. He was reportedly mocking some of the very actors he built his career with, joking about their family problems, their looks, and even calling one washed up. He talked about how he dangled fake promises to keep people loyal, but this is where it gets interesting. He also allegedly said something that sent chills through David. I gave them a platform. Now they think they can turn on me. They need to remember who made them and who can end them. That one line made David stop everything. He reportedly paused the playback, sat in silence for hours, and started to see everything differently. Suddenly, the stories Dar had told years earlier didn't seem like lies. They felt real. They felt dangerous. Because here's the craziest part. Tyler also mentioned Dar in that recording. He laughed, calling him a nobody, said he had mental issues, and was bitter because he was caught stealing. Tyler brushed off Dar's claims like they meant nothing, but the way he talked, the tone, the confidence, it sounded just like the man Dar had warned people about. Let's rewind a little. Who was Dar? Why was his story so easily ignored? Back in the early 2000s, Dar had worked directly under Tyler. He was young, ambitious, and believed in the vision, but after 2 years, he was suddenly gone, fired under strange circumstances. Years later, pieces of his story started to come out in hidden blog posts, small interviews, and underground podcasts. He described Tyler Perry Studios as a place full of fear and control. Staff were forced to sign strict NDAs. People were watched, tracked, and emotionally manipulated. Dar said that if someone tried to leave or speak out, Tyler would blacklist them quietly, making sure they never worked in the industry again. At the time, these claims didn't make headlines, but now they've come back with full force. Dar even claimed that Tyler once told him in private, "I know how to make people disappear. Not physically, but spiritually. I can make the world forget about them." Back then, everyone thought it was just a weird joke or a dramatic metaphor. But now, hearing David's leaked audio where Tyler says, "I made them, I can end them," the connection feels impossible to ignore. Before the world knew about the recording, before David Mann made the bold choice to go public, there was only one person brave enough to speak, and that was Dar. But no one listened. And now, with the leaked audio confirming some of his darkest claims, people started paying attention. But here's where the story took a strange and unexpected turn. Because after years of silence, suddenly Dar's old interviews and blogs started resurfacing. People began digging, and what they found added more fire to the already burning controversy. In a little-known podcast from 2019, Dar shared chilling details about his time working inside Tyler Perry's studios. He described it not as a creative paradise, but as a place where fear ruled. He claimed employees were forced to stay loyal through emotional control. That Tyler would lift people up only to tear them down when they outlived their usefulness. And what makes this story different? Dar never sounded bitter. He sounded broken. In that same interview, he mentioned how people were made to sign strict NDAs for the smallest things. Even background staff weren't allowed to speak freely. And if someone tried to leave on bad terms, word spread quickly, and suddenly, doors closed everywhere. Let me tell you, what scared people the most wasn't just what Dar said, it was how much of it matched what was heard in David's leaked audio. David reportedly compared the podcast to the tape, and the similarities were shocking. The way Tyler talked down about former cast members, how he joked about controlling careers, how he bragged about no one daring to speak up, it was all there. One of Dar's most terrifying claims was that Tyler told him, "I don't have to destroy people publicly. I just make calls. I know people's secrets, their past. I use that." When that quote came back into the spotlight, fans started connecting the dots, and the picture that formed, it was disturbing. David, who had once laughed and prayed with Tyler, now couldn't ignore what he had heard, and neither could the fans. But here's the shocking part. Despite all this, the industry stayed silent. Not a single major outlet ran the story. No celebrity openly discussed it. And David, he was left alone, facing pressure from every direction. According to close friends, after the tape dropped, David's phone didn't stop ringing. But it wasn't support, it was warnings. Some from fellow gospel artists, others from powerful voices in the entertainment world. People told him to stay quiet, that he was messing with something bigger than himself. But David had already crossed the line. He couldn't turn back. This is where it gets interesting. While the world was distracted by celebrity drama and social media trends, something deeper was happening behind closed doors. David had reportedly started hearing whispers about others who had stories, others who had stayed silent. One former production assistant allegedly reached out anonymously, claiming they were present during the same meeting where the recording was made. They confirmed Tyler's harsh words and more. This person, whose identity remains hidden, claimed that what David released was only a small piece of what was said. And that's when rumors of a second recording began to spread. Yes, you heard that right. A second tape, a longer, even more damaging audio file that could completely expose Tyler Perry's inner circle. According to a source close to the Mann family, David didn't plan to release anything at first. He only wanted to talk to Tyler privately, to address the situation as brothers. But when he brought the recording to Tyler's attention, Perry reportedly dismissed it coldly. He allegedly told David, "It's out of context. Don't forget who helped you get here. Keep it in the family." That sentence hit David hard. For a man who built his reputation on faith and loyalty, hearing those words shook him to his core. It wasn't just business, it was personal. It felt like betrayal. The pressure mounted. Friends say David began to isolate himself, unsure who he could trust. Some say Tamala Mann, his own wife and gospel partner, advised him to stay quiet for the sake of their careers. But David couldn't unhear what was said, and he couldn't pretend it didn't matter. Eventually, he made the choice that could cost him everything. He released the first audio, and now he's reportedly working with legal advisors trying to figure out if releasing the second one will bring justice or just more chaos. What makes this moment so intense is not just the content, it's the silence that surrounds it. People in Hollywood know what happened. Many have heard the tape behind closed doors, yet no one is talking. One insider called it the Tyler effect, a mix of power, influence, and fear. Because Tyler Perry isn't just a filmmaker, he's a billionaire, a studio owner, a man with deep ties to media, politics, and powerful names. Crossing him isn't just risky, it's career-ending. With the first recording out and rumors of a second, even more explosive tape swirling in private circles, the tension inside Tyler Perry's world began to crack. Behind the glossy headlines and glamorous appearances, something darker was stirring. According to multiple anonymous sources, Perry's team had already gone into full damage control mode. PR firms were working overtime, quietly reaching out to media outlets to suppress the story. Some journalists even admitted off the record that they were strongly discouraged from covering the leak. That's how deep this thing ran. But let me tell you, despite the silence on the surface, chaos was brewing behind closed doors. Inside Tyler Perry Studios, the atmosphere reportedly changed overnight. One assistant claimed that staff were whispering in hallways, deleting old messages, staying off social media. The fear was real. Some believed more recordings existed. Others were just terrified of being linked to the scandal. And here's where it gets even more disturbing. Several insiders began coming forward in private, saying they had also witnessed the same controlling behavior David and Dar had described. But they couldn't speak publicly. Why? Because of airtight NDAs and fear of retaliation. One casting coordinator reportedly told a friend, "If I even breathe the wrong thing about Tyler, I'll never work again. He'll erase me like I'd never existed." And it wasn't just industry folks feeling the heat. David Mann himself began facing backlash, quiet but sharp. Invitations to gospel events stopped coming in. Promoters began distancing themselves. Some even pulled his name from upcoming projects. One gospel event organizer allegedly said, "David messed with the wrong machine. Now he's learning the cost." Even more heartbreaking were the rumors that his own household was under strain. Tamala Mann, known for her clean image and deep gospel ties, had reportedly chosen not to publicly support David's decision. Friends close to the couple whispered that there were disagreements, that Tamala was worried her own career and reputation could be affected if she stood by him too loudly. But here's the thing, this wasn't just about David or even Dar anymore. This was about the pattern, a pattern we've seen far too often in the entertainment world. Powerful men building empires on the surface of faith, family, and empowerment, while hiding manipulation and control behind the scenes. This is where it gets interesting. When the same man who built his career by playing a character like Medea, someone who preached truth and justice, was now being accused of shutting down voices and sabotaging careers in real life. The contradiction was hard to ignore. Dar's words started to echo louder than ever. He had once warned, "One day, someone closer will see it, someone brave enough. And when that happens, I pray they don't stay silent like I almost did." That someone, it turned out, might just be David Mann. And now, with whispers of more tapes and even more names involved, people started to ask the big question, how much longer can this be buried? Because if what David recorded is only the beginning, then the real story hasn't even started yet. According to a close friend of David's who spoke under anonymity, the second tape isn't just Tyler speaking. It allegedly includes conversations with producers, publicists, and even famous actors. Some of them were reportedly discussing how to control narratives, deal with difficult talent, and how to keep things in-house. One source said that there's a moment where Tyler allegedly explained how he used background checks and personal secrets to manipulate those around him. He was reportedly heard saying, "They think I don't know what they did in '05. Please, I don't even have to threaten them. I just make a few calls and they're done." That's the quote that, if real and released, could destroy not just Tyler's public image, but his entire legacy. And still, David hasn't dropped the second recording. Why? Because according to those close to him, he's scared. Scared of lawsuits, scared of retaliation, and scared that releasing it might put his own family in danger. Some even believe David has already been threatened. One now deleted social media post he shared days after the first leak read, "Sometimes truth costs more than silence, but peace is priceless." Fans who saw it before it vanished said it felt like a cry for help. The craziest part, while all this is happening, the mainstream world acts like nothing's going on. No interviews, no headlines, no press conferences, just silence. And in that silence, people are starting to wake up. Former Perry collaborators are dropping vague hints. One well-known actress recently said during a podcast interview, "There's a lot I could say, but I won't. Not now. Maybe one day." Another posted on Instagram, "Sometimes peace means walking away before you're pushed." Now that the truth has started slipping through the cracks, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a war between silence and truth. And with each passing day, the walls around Tyler Perry's empire seemed to tremble a little more. While the public waited for the next bombshell, Tyler's team was already working behind the scenes to protect everything he'd built. Sources close to the studio claimed that Tyler had begun removing people from his circle, erasing old connections, and quietly rewriting history. One insider said he's cleaning house. Anyone who knew too much, gone. No explanation. But the real fear wasn't about what had already happened. It was about what still might. Because if David Mann released the second recording, the fallout could be devastating. Not just for Tyler Perry, but for everyone involved. The tape allegedly included names of producers, PR managers, and public figures who either enabled the behavior or stayed silent about it. Some reportedly laughed along in the background. Others offered solutions to deal with troublemakers. If proven true, it would mean the issue wasn't just Tyler's. It was systemic. And the moment that tape dropped, it could pull down more than one empire. Even now, legal teams on both sides were said to be circling. David reportedly hired a lawyer with experience in whistleblower protection. At the same time, Tyler's camp was allegedly preparing lawsuits to block any further leaks. The legal war hadn't gone public yet, but insiders said it was only a matter of time. And that's when things took another strange turn. A rumor began spreading online that David wasn't the only one with recordings. At least 2 other former Perry staff members had reportedly saved messages, voice notes, or conversations from their time at the studio. One of them allegedly posted anonymously saying, "If David drops the second tape, I'll share what I've been holding on to since 2018. Let me tell you, this story wasn't fading away. It was growing quietly, relentlessly. The media might have looked the other way, but fans didn't. They started tagging journalists, demanding coverage, and digging into Tyler's past interviews. In one resurfaced clip from 2014, Perry was asked about how he deals with conflict. His answer, "I don't entertain drama. I move on. If someone betrays me, I just pray for them and close the door." At the time, it sounded like maturity, but now it sounded like something else, like someone used to cutting people off without explanation. And what about the gospel community? The same community that had once lifted David and Tamala Mann to stardom? Well, even there, things were shifting. Some fans were starting to speak out. Churchgoers began questioning why faith leaders were staying silent. Others pointed out the hypocrisy of preaching forgiveness and truth while turning their backs on someone who dared to expose abuse. Slowly, the pressure grew. Quiet whispers turned into loud questions. And David? He remained silent but determined. Those close to him said he was praying daily for clarity, protection, and guidance, and that he still hadn't made a final decision about the second tape. But his mind was leaning in one direction: release it. And here's where destiny took an unexpected turn. Because this wasn't just about Tyler Perry anymore. It was about power, fear, and the price of silence. It was about Dar, a forgotten assistant who tried to speak out but was ignored. It was about David Mann, a man of faith, torn between loyalty and truth. And it was about everyone watching from the sidelines, wondering when the next domino would fall. The truth is, in Hollywood, power protects itself. But when enough people stand up, even the strongest walls begin to crack. So now, the final question remains. Will David Mann risk everything to let the world hear what Tyler Perry really said? Or will the machine silence him just like it tried to silence Dar? One thing is certain. This story isn't over. In fact, the silence right now might be the calm before the storm. And if that storm hits, it could be the biggest reckoning Hollywood has seen in years. Stay watching, because the truth always finds a way out, even when the world tries to bury it.